Hello everybody, Michelle here, and I'm super excited to be back on the channel. We've had a little bit of a hiatus on Michelle and Aline. We've had a lot of family visiting and things have just been a little bit crazy, but we're so excited to be back. I'm also so excited about this video because it was hugely requested. Ever since I announced on Instagram and on, I believe, the last vlog, there's been a lot of excitement and mystery surrounding my new job, and a lot of you have been so excited about the promised work content, the promised work week in my life content, and I'm excited to supply it. Honestly, I have been waiting for this moment for a really long time, so I decided that the best way, the only way really, to come back would be to do a New York City career Q&A, not only answering questions about my new job, what it is, how I found it, but also about unemployment in New York City, job hunting in New York City, post-grad life, any tips that I have for you guys. So I'm here to answer it all, and I'm so unbelievably excited. I also hope you guys enjoy my new setup. I think it's super cute. It kind of showcases my favorite elements in my room with the brick, my circle mirror, New York print, and my little snake plant over there. So I hope you enjoy it. Also, if you're new here, welcome. My name is Michelle. I'm 24 years old and I live in Brooklyn and work in social media marketing in Manhattan. So it's a pretty wild time over here on this channel. It gets pretty real because I'm just an average gal who films her life. I'm not like a famous influencer or anything, so I feel like it gives you a very unique perspective on what it's really like to live and work in New York City. So click that little subscribe button if you haven't already. There's a lot of fun content coming your way real soon, I promise. So why don't we just hop into this Q&A? You guys asked so many good questions, so I'm gonna try my best to answer as many of them as I can. Feel free to skip through because I have a feeling this video is going to be really long and I want to make sure that you guys get the answers that you were looking for. I also did try to combine a bunch of your questions into one because there were a lot of repeats and a lot of similar questions, so I just want to make sure that I get to as many of your questions as possible. But yeah, let's just hop right into it after this little bit of a rambly intro, but I felt like it was a little necessary because I'm back, baby. Let's do it. All right, so I thought I'd start off with kind of answering what my new job is. So my new job title is Social Media Associate at Davines North America. Davines is a global beauty brand that really prioritizes sustainability and doing good by the environment. They primarily focus on hair products, however they do have skincare and body care products as well, and they're just really good. I've been playing with all their products lately and they're just such good quality and also made of great ingredients, and the packaging is all very eco-friendly. They are an Italian brand, so they're based in Parma, Italy. That's where their headquarters is. That's where the Davines village is, but they have offices all over the world, so I'm in the North American branch, which I am so hyped about. So basically, they're an incredible company. Their products are amazing and the role is right up my alley, so I'm a happy girl. The next question is, how did you land the job / find your new job? So basically, if you guys have been keeping up with me on this channel since the beginning, I was actually laid off end of January, early February. So I had been job hunting from probably February to end of July. So kind of a little bit of a stretch there. It was a hellish process and I did not anticipate job hunting in New York would be that challenging, and it was definitely a surprise. Quite a shock. Would not recommend to anybody, and I'll definitely cover more of the unemployment questions later on in this Q&A, but basically I found this job through a recruiter. Now, a lot of you might not be familiar with the whole recruiter process. I definitely wasn't when I started this job hunt, and it kind of scared me, intimidated me. I didn't really understand it. I didn't know if it was legit or not. So I'm going to talk a little bit on recruiters, because I think it can be a very untapped resource, but at the same time, there's pros and cons to using a recruiter. Basically, when I started opening up more on YouTube about being unemployed and looking for a job, one of my lovely viewers commented below about being a recruiter, and we actually had a phone call, and she was super helpful. I believe her name is Miri, and she was just like so kind, so supportive, and told me about a recruiting service slash company called Michael Page. I'd never heard of them before, so she told me to check out the website, to apply to things I thought were interesting, and to keep her in the loop. That's how I ended up learning about Michael Page, and that's how I found the posting for this job with Davines. But within, I think it was like 24 hours, I heard back about this position, and it just sounded like everything I was looking for. It was for a global beauty brand, a social media position, opportunity to grow, opportunity to travel. The company's mission statement was completely geared around sustainability and creating eco-friendly products and packaging and investing in reforestation and in giving back to the community, and everything just like checked off for me, and I was super excited about it. Basically, I had a couple phone calls with the recruiter. She kind of just like vetted me, made sure that I was completely serious about accepting this position if I was offered it, and that I was the right fit, essentially. And when you work with a recruiter, it's great because then you have someone backing you up and representing you. So if you don't have that many connections moving to a new city and you really don't have that big of a network yet, it's so valuable to just have someone vouching for you and presenting you as the candidate for this position. So that's why I really liked working with a recruiter, and it ended up really working out for me. I know obviously everybody has a different experience, but it ended up really working out for me. I had one interview with Hannah, my current boss, and it just went so well. It didn't even feel like an interview because I felt like we just clicked right off the bat. I thought that there was just a lot of compatibility and really good energy, and it just felt like a conversation. I think it was the best interview that I've ever done, just because I felt so calm and confident. I was just able to articulate my answers a lot better because I was just a lot more chilled out than some of my interviews where I felt like the energy may have just been a little bit more conflicting. Then I had a couple more phone calls with the recruiter, and I think it was, again, within the next 24 hours, I got an offer for the job, and it was so fast, so amazing. I think it was in the span of like a week where I applied for this job online and then talked to the recruiter for the first time and then got the job offer. So that's another thing I really like about Michael Page. This is not sponsored by them at all whatsoever, but I think this is such a great resource for you young people out there that might be searching for a job. If you're looking for a job and you're looking for a job quickly and you're getting a little bit desperate, you might want to start working with some recruiters if you just haven't seen any luck the traditional way. I know that I was applying to like Indeed, Glassdoor, LinkedIn, like a mad woman, and I just did not see any results. I think that working with recruiters or getting a referral from someone in your network or someone that you've worked with or a friend, family member, anything, I think that that's so much more effective, especially in such a competitive job market. Social media marketing, especially in like fashion, beauty, that kind of space is so competitive, and the city is so competitive. So having like a personal referral is so valuable. So that's just definitely something that I would recommend. A lot of people were asking me about what I'm most excited about with this new job, which, thank you so much. That's such a sweet and personal question. Thank you for asking and being interested. So what I'm most excited about in this new job is probably that this company is really established. In my last job, I was working for a startup, which is just a little bit more volatile. Things can change overnight, which obviously it happened for me. I was let go pretty out of the blue, and it was so stressful and it sucked. So I feel really good about the place I'm in now. Davines is a very successful company. Davines is a global brand. They have offices all over the world. It's not all about the money, obviously, but they're doing really well financially. I feel like there's definitely a lot more stability and a lot more room to grow in this company than in my last position. So I'm super excited about that. Also, I'm super excited because I have the opportunity to travel quite a bit, which is incredible. I've been at this job for just under a month now, and I'm being sent to Italy. I'm going to Italy on a work trip in like a couple weeks, and my mind is actually blown. So this is my first time I'm announcing this, and I'm so freaking excited. I'm just over the moon with the opportunities that I already am receiving in this position, and it's just absolutely amazing, and I am so happy. It's crazy. So that's something I'm very excited about, and I could go on forever, but I think the third thing that I'm most excited about is that I'm working for a B Corp. So Davines is a certified B Corp. I pulled up the definition because I wanted to get it exactly right. So basically, a B Corp is a benefit corporation that includes a positive impact on society, workers, the community, and the environment. You have to apply every single year to continue keeping your B Corp status, and it's very legit. I love that I work for a company that stands for something so important. Sustainability is something that I'm very passionate about and am just starting to get into further. It feels really good to work for a company that stands for something greater and is doing its best to make the world a better place. The next question is this position everything you would hope for? Yes, and more, honestly. The role, the daily tasks, my responsibilities, the industry, the company, the pay, everything is just exactly what I've been hoping for and been wanting and searching for so long. So it feels amazing. I could honestly not be happier, and I feel like everything did happen for a reason. And even though I was unemployed for a little bit longer than I wanted to be and maybe didn't make the best choices throughout that time, I absolutely know now that it was all for a reason, and it was all like perfect timing. It's just really crazy. My friend Francesca asked a really good question. She said, do you find recruiters useful, or do you think they don't really get what you're looking for in a job? So I thought this was really an important question, since I touched on recruiters earlier, and thought I would expand a little bit more on my thoughts on recruiters since I did use a recruiter. Basically, the first time I actually worked with Michael Page was back in March, and essentially I was getting really desperate for a job, applied to a really wide range of opportunities on Michael Page, and heard back pretty quickly, just like I did with Davines. In this situation, it was a little bit different. They presented a job to me in the healthcare industry. At the time, I was so desperate that even though this industry wasn't something I was knowledgeable or very passionate about, I went through with the interview process anyway, and I was I fully intended on accepting the job if I did get an offer. However, right at the moment I got home from the interview, I got reached out to by one of my dream companies to work for. It's an online publication, and they wanted me to do an edit test for them. And I was so conflicted because on one hand, I had this job that maybe wasn't something I was passionate about or interested in, but it was a good paying job, very stable, and it was like about to be offered to me on a silver platter. But then on the other hand, I had like my dream job, a job that essentially was one of my main reasons for moving to New York, but it wasn't a done deal yet. But if I did get it, it would lead to a world of opportunities. I ended up turning the job in the healthcare space down because I was so confident and so sure that this was my like life's purpose, and that the job with the online publication was going to work out, and it didn't. And that was very, very hard for me. It kind of did break my spirit a little bit, and I just felt so irresponsible and reckless for not accepting the job in the healthcare industry through Michael Page. Something that I also didn't know about recruiters is that when you start working with one, and they present you for a role, you kind of have to be in a place where you're ready to accept that role no matter what. At least that's how a lot of recruiters through Michael Page do it, which I think is like totally fine, totally understandable. The clients that they have, they really value, so they don't want anyone pulling out at the last minute. They don't want to waste anybody's time, but I was not aware of this. And at the same time, I had to like follow my heart and my gut, and I just had so much anxiety about not following this potential dream job. I know 100% that I made the right decision for myself because everything worked out a lot better and things happen for a reason, and I don't regret it at all, but I wish I would have known at the time that that can actually be super risky. You can actually be blacklisted by recruiters and like companies if you pull a move like that while working with a recruiter, and it can also just really damage your reputation. So I think that that's something to be aware of if you are looking to work with a recruiter. I think that as long as you're being really open with the recruiter you're working with, and you're communicating and you're letting them know exactly what you're looking for in a job, and you only interview for jobs that you're 100% sure about, ready to accept that very moment, I think that recruiters are a great option. As I said earlier, recruiters are super helpful if you don't have an extensive network. They're also super helpful to present opportunities that you may not have access to, because some companies don't even post on sites like LinkedIn, Indeed, Glassdoor, and what have you. So I think that recruiters are great. However, you do have to be aware of the fact that you may not have as much independence with your selection process. On my second round of utilizing a recruiter, I actually did go back to Michael Page, and despite them not being very happy about the decision that I made and about pulling out kind of last minute from the like healthcare position, they saw me as a really valuable candidate and they agreed to work with me again, which was really amazing of them. The second time I definitely was a lot more transparent, and I was also just a lot more set on this position and ready to accept it. And it was also way later. I was just ready, and this opportunity was just a better fit. Like, quite frankly, it was the job for me. Someone else asked if I'm working at home or in an office. I am working in an office. My office is located in Flatiron. Yeah, my commute is around like 45 minutes to 50 minutes, sometimes an hour on a bad day, but for the most part, it's not too bad. We can work from home now and again, but for the most part, I'm commuting Monday through Friday to the office in Flatiron. Now I'm going to move on to the portion of this Q&A that's going to be focused a little bit more on job hunting tips. I know I sprinkled some tips and tricks throughout this Q&A already, but this is going to be a little bit more honed in if that's what you're looking for. Feel free to skip around or skip ahead. I know this video is long, but I want it to be helpful and informative. So I got a couple questions asking about career advice for college students, which I think is something that I've really been wanting to touch on a lot lately, because throughout my job hunting experience, I have been thinking about things I wish I would have done differently. So I think that my number one career tip for college students is to intern. Now, I interned for a College Fashionista, which is an online publication based in New York City, and I did an online internship with them. I did that, I think, for like 3 years of my college experience, and although it did give me a lot of great experience and knowledge and really honed my skills as a writer, and I also did a social media internship for them, so it absolutely did help me and it was great to put on my resume. Looking back, if I could change anything about my college experience, I wish that I would have taken 1 summer, 2 summers, as many as I could have, and just interned in New York City. I lived at home all through college, so I definitely could have saved up if I put my mind to it and just bit the bullet and done it. I think I was just too overwhelmed and too scared to do that, so I felt a lot more comfortable interning online from my little Montana bedroom. However, if I could go back in time and change anything, that's what I would do, because I think that a lot of people who work in New York mainly get amazing opportunities through internships that they have done in New York City in person for like these major publications and companies and brands. So that's my tip to you. If you're a college student right now, think about interning, think about spending a summer in your dream city and doing an internship, because that's what I would have done. However, things have worked out for me, but if I could have done anything to make myself stand out a little bit more, to open up some more doors that's what I would do. Someone else asked if they think a college degree is necessary. I don't think a college degree is necessary for success. For a really long time, I wish that I didn't go to college and I just moved to New York right off the bat and started getting a head start on working. But throughout my lovely 6 months of being unemployed and job hunting, it is so ridiculously hard to get a job, to get a good job in a competitive city, in a city that's appealing to live in for a lot of people, in an industry that you're passionate about, in a creative industry. It's so hard already to get a job. So I feel like I'm super grateful that I did go to college and I do have a marketing degree, because anything that you can do to help put yourself on top of the rest of applications, I think is so important and can be so valuable. I know a lot of jobs that I applied for actually required a college degree, so I was so grateful that I had that and that I got my diploma, because in the past I definitely have wondered what life would have been without it. So I don't think it's necessary for success at all, and there's so many paths you can take. However, for me personally, I want to make sure that's known, because I absolutely think it's so possible to be successful without a degree, and I think that it shouldn't be a requirement, because I don't think it's a reflection of how smart you are, how experienced you are. But for me personally, I'm so glad I did it, because it was already so hard to begin with, and having that degree definitely was that like extra buffer. For general job hunting tips, I have a couple things that I wanted to suggest. Apply for companies that maybe aren't as mainstream. Like at first when I got here, I was so focused on like the Refinery 29s and the Cosmopolitans that I let other amazing opportunities kind of slide by the wayside, because maybe they didn't seem as glamorous or as popular. I think that getting your foot in your door at your first job is going to be so hard. So if you're having a hard time finding a job, you may want to rethink your strategy and apply for companies that maybe aren't as competitive or as like glamorized, I guess, because you're gonna get a better chance elsewhere. And that doesn't mean you'll never work at those companies that you're super interested in. You may just have to get more experience elsewhere, and then you can always go back to those later in your life. Something else I had to rethink in my job application strategy was applying for positions that I was not experienced enough for yet. I was applying for a lot of like manager roles, a lot of director roles, and quite frankly, I'm just not experienced yet enough for those positions. Maybe I know that I personally could do those positions and do a good job in those positions, but someone who doesn't know you at all is not gonna just take a chance on a random person. Like, they have no reason to. So I think that it's really important to kind of humble yourself and to start from the ground up. So that's something that really helped me. I definitely started getting more bites when I started applying for more roles with assistant in the title, with associate in the title. That definitely helped me, and I started getting a lot more responses when I applied for roles that were just more in my wheelhouse. A lot of people were asking me about interview tips and tips for like your resume and your portfolio, cover letter, that sort of thing. But I think that anything you can do to stand out is always great. I always put my YouTube channel on my resume. That's something that I take a lot of pride in, and I think helps me stand out. And yeah, maybe I'm not a famous influencer, but I can put things down like reached over like 1.5 million views on her channel, and like developed her own personal brand and worked with XYZ brands. Like, that's something that helps you stand out. It makes you look more original, and it also shows that you're very passionate and knowledgeable about your subject matter. So if you have a side hustle, I say definitely use that to your advantage and take pride in it, because it's huge and a lot of people don't have that. As far as interview tips, I could go on and on and on about this, but I think that not saying no and not shutting down any questions is super important. If someone asks you if you can do something and maybe you don't know how to do it yet, I would always suggest to spin your response in a positive way. They want to see that you're a go-getter. They want to see that you're positive, that you're willing to do whatever it takes for the job. So I think that that's super important. If you have any more questions that are a little bit more specific on cover letter, resume, etc., I'd love to do a video more on that because that's something I'm really passionate about. I love career development and I'd love to help any of you out that I can because I know it can be so stressful and so confusing. Now I'm going to move on to the portion of the Q&A discussing my time being unemployed and how I dealt with it. I got a lot of responses on Instagram asking me like how I coped, how I kept morale up, how I dealt with rejection, how I dealt with my own anxiety, and it made me realize that probably a lot of you guys are going through this exact same thing. And I know for myself personally, while I was going through the job hunting process, I never felt more alone. I never felt more like left out, like a loser, like I had something wrong with me because I couldn't land a job and I wasn't landing a job. And it just made me realize, it really opened my eyes to the fact that so many people are going through this exact same thing, and it just made me feel a lot less alone, and it made me feel like excited to share with you guys what I can in order to help you through this hard time in your lives, because it sucked so much. And so yeah, I got lots of questions regarding like, how did you cope? How did you keep morale up? Was there a lot of anxiety? What got you through? How did you stay positive? How did you stay motivated? And I can honestly say that I'm gonna be a little bit real with you guys right now because I think it's important, and I wish that like I would have had someone to turn to that was going through the same thing. So in order to help you guys, I want to be as transparent as I can. This was a really, really, really hard time in my life. I did feel hopeless a lot of the time, and it was honestly like such a lonely and dark period of my life where I just felt like I had no control over anything. Luckily, I have like such supportive friends and family that like definitely kept me afloat during this time. And luckily I had outlets like my YouTube channel that helped me feel productive and helped me feel like I had work to do, because I am a person that really values hard work. I like to say that I'm like a really motivated person and my career is super valuable to me. So the fact that I was having such a difficult time finding a job and like dealing with rejection, and the fact that like I turned down jobs in the beginning of my job hunt made me super anxious when later on I wasn't getting any offers, and I thought that I blew it. I thought that I made mistakes. I started like feeling so much regret and anxiety about decisions that I had made, about like turning down past opportunities because they weren't the right fit, and I just felt so bad all around. And it's hard to talk about like what I did to cope and how I got through and how I got my morale up, because it was a lot of waiting and a lot of trying to be patient, which is so hard when you're dealing with something like trying to find a job, because obviously you need that financial stability. So it's very, 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 very hard. Honestly, I am not really a religious person, but I feel like I'm pretty spiritual. So like this is gonna get a little like deep, but like I had to just like hope. I had to just trust that there was a plan for me, and trust that like the universe knew what it was doing and was leading me in the right direction. And I know this sounds like a little bit hippy dippy or whatever, but I honestly had to just like really tune into that like spiritual side and like try to hold on hope and try to just trust the universe and that everything would fall into place. And it was only a matter of time. It was only a matter of when, not if, but when. I listened to a lot of self-help books. I listened to all the You Are a Badass books on Audible, and I would just do that like over and over again to just try to like stay positive. I tried to work out a lot. I tried to invest a lot of time in my hobbies. What I wish I would have done is just get like a survival job or day job while I was looking. I have to say that I just didn't know how long I was going to be unemployed for. And if I knew from the beginning that it was going to take me like 5 to 6 months, I definitely would have made that decision. I was in a place where I'm not kidding you, every week or every other week, I had a different lead. Like I was waiting for something else. And every single week or every other week, I had like a possible thing that was gonna work out and then it didn't. So the only reason why I didn't get a survival job, like at a retail position or in like the food service industry, was not because I thought I was too good for it. I really just don't want anyone to think that that's my mindset. I just honestly every single week was like, oh no, but I'm gonna get this job, so it's fine. And it took me a little bit too long to realize that it wasn't fine. And if I could go back and change anything, I would, but you know, I can't like live in a constant state of regret and like self-hatred. So I just kind of have to accept that it happened the way it happened, and like thank God it worked out in the end. But I definitely would recommend to any of you guys out there, because this is a tip I would give to myself if I could look back. It's not that I'm like looking down on anyone. I would say like try to get a survival job, whether it's nannying or working at a cafe or like working at a boutique. Whatever you can do to just give yourself more purpose in life, I think would be so helpful. I wish I would have done this right off the bat. Like when I started job hunting, I like convinced myself that I was going to do freelance, and that like, and I did like I did have like a few projects that I was working on from here and there with like brands and things, but it just, I don't know. I honestly have no excuses for myself except for the fact that I was in this weird limbo state and was super lost and thought every week that the job I was applying for was going to work out, and it just didn't work out. So another question that I get all the time, and I think this is where I'm going to end this Q&A, is on this question. Is I got so many questions, and I still get so many questions about how I afforded to live in New York City without a job. I can honestly say that without the help and support of my parents, I would not have been able to stay in New York. I also always made it a point to save money while I was working at my previous job at Harvest. So I did have some savings to buffer like fun things that I did. I bought my tickets for Europe with my own money before I even lost my job at Harvest, which I think a lot of people probably don't know. I paid for like Airbnbs and my flight tickets like all on my own before I lost my job with my savings that I had. And I also was receiving unemployment benefits, which paid for my entire like portion of rent that I was paying for. I know a lot of people aren't privileged enough to have support and help from their parents financially, and so I absolutely do want to acknowledge like my privilege and the fact that a lot of people can't afford to live in New York without a job, and I'm absolutely aware of that. My salary did definitely increase from my last job to this current job, which is amazing. So even though I did rely on my parents for support financially during my time of unemployment, now I'm able to like start paying them back and start becoming more independent. So in the long run, even though I did rely on them for support during this time of unemployment, where I was let go kind of out of the blue, I did not have a choice, and I would not wish anyone to be in a situation where they don't have a job without a backup. But now, here on out, I'm in a position where I'm able to be a lot more financially stable. I'm able to start paying my parents back. I'm not going to be relying on them as much. I honestly felt a lot of shame surrounding this topic, which is why I haven't opened up on it in the past. But I don't want to create an unrealistic standard of living and an unrealistic expectation for people who want to pick up and move their lives to New York and think that they will financially be able to do it, because it's so ridiculously expensive and it's unrealistic to think that you can survive without a job. I was let go against my will from my job, and I didn't know what to do, and I was trying to figure out my life plan, and my parents agreed to help me out during my first year post-grad. I feel like I have a responsibility because I get so many messages and comments regarding people wanting my life and people wanting to move to New York, and I don't want people to get themselves into a dangerous financial situation because of me. However, I do think that's a really personal topic, and I do feel like some insecurity surrounding it. So I just ask you to be kind, because I'm opening up about this in order to help other people. I'm doing my absolute best to become a financially responsible, independent adult, and I'm well on my way with this new job, thankfully. So I feel really good about my decision to wait for something that in the long term would give me more financial success, stability, and independence. On that note, I do want to finish up this video now. I hope I answered everything that you guys were wondering. If you have any more questions, please do leave them down below. Please be kind and respectful to me and to each other. If you guys are in a similar position and you're struggling with finding a job, I just want you guys to know, like, I am here for you. If you need anything, please DM me on Instagram. I do take a little bit to respond. Like, it isn't my main focus to be on Instagram DMs all the time, but I will respond. I will help you any way that I can, and if it does take me a little while to get back to you guys, just know that I'm wishing you all the love and all the success in your life and in your career. I know that it can feel so permanent, and it can feel like this is what the rest of your life looks like, and that you're never going to be successful, you're never going to accomplish anything, you're never going to achieve your dreams. But I can tell you firsthand that this state of your life is so temporary, and I'm getting so like motivational speech-y, but it's just so temporary and it's going to be over. There's just so much more to life and so much more to you, and I know that you're going to get that job that you really, really want, and things are just going to be so good, and you'll forget that there was even a time when you felt like this, because honestly at this point I feel like that part of my life is already fading away. But it taught me so much, I became so much stronger, and now I'm so much more appreciative of getting to wake up and work every day. Thank you for all your kind words and sweet congratulations on my new job. I can't wait to bring you guys along on this next journey in my life and take you guys to Parma and Milan in Italy. It's gonna be a crazy journey. So I'll see you in the next one. Bye!